welcome to another edition of Outspoken. I'm Dan Sileo. NCAA Tournament. It is March Madness. My God almighty, what a great weekend. Guys, fire the cannons. Absolutely one of the greatest weekends in American sports, and that is the NCAA Tournament. March Madness. It gives you all the drama. You know, I had to look up a college called High Point. I had never heard of it before. I had never seen that basketball team ever play a collegiate game before. I found out it's in North Carolina. What a shocker, right? And they end up beating Wisconsin, one of the legendary college basketball programs. I mean, I had no idea. Then you saw what VCU did to UNC and Herbert Davis and all them dudes. I got to tell you guys, this is exactly what the NCAA tournament is about. American drama. Look, the Super Bowl is fantastic, right? This is something that we look forward to each and every single year. But this tournament, I have to say, is the second best sporting event in American sports. You have the element of gambling. You have the element of drama. You have schools you've never heard of. How about this, too? High Point made themselves $2 million for their sports program. It's incredible. This is what sports is all about. Look, the 12-team college football playoff is great, right? It still has a long way to go. The 68-team tournament is everything that the 12-team college football playoff is trying to become. This thing here, no matter where you're placed, no matter what region you're in, it creates the greatest drama in American sports. Look, historically, you talk about some of the greatest moments and some of the greatest sports legends of all time. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, go down the list, Isaiah Thomas. Some of the greatest teams we've ever seen play and some of the greatest moments in American sports were because of this tournament. Some of the greatest and most important signature moments in American sports when you had the Texas Western team back in the late 60s, ended up winning and being the first team to put 5 African Americans on the floor at College Park, and they ended up going on and beating Kentucky. Some of the greatest sports moments, some of the greatest historically great sports moments have happened because of this tournament. Look, we have nothing in sports like it. Look, the World Series is great drama we see if you have the right teams in it. The NBA last year, you know, OKC in Indiana, that was a snoozer. The Baseball World Series was great between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, but you get drama each and every single week. We've seen it already in the opening 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. This is why they dub it March Madness. All right, without a doubt, I am a Yankee fan. And I have said this before, folks, to you. I can name you every single historical number of every single great Yankee that's ever played. I mean, there is no doubt. When you talk about New York Yankees, you talk about the greatest players in baseball history. Well, one of those guys failed again, and his name is Aaron Judge, a 3-time American League MVP. They get beat by Venezuela 3-2 in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, folks, in the 2024 World Series, Aaron Judge hit 222. Well, he's consistent because he hit 222 in the tournament. Dude, if you want to be considered one of the greatest American baseball players of all time, you've got to deliver in the clutch, especially if you're wearing pinstripes. You think you're a Monument Park guy, dude? Dude, if you do not deliver as a Yankee, like Reggie, like Jeter, like DiMaggio, like Mantle, like Berra, some of the greatest names in American sports history and some of the greatest names in baseball history, you are never going to be considered one of the great Yankees of all time. I had an opportunity when I was doing sports talk radio and I was in Tampa. Mr. Steinbrenner used to come into my studio all the time when he lived there in Tampa. And we would talk about the greatest Yankees of all time. And he would goof on people like Dave Winfield by calling him Mr. May. Can you imagine the boss watching Aaron Judge? How great a player. I don't care how many 50 home run seasons you have, bro. I don't care how many MVPs you win. You will never be looked at as one of the greatest Yankees of all time if you do not deliver in the clutch. This guy is not a clutch player. Show me where. He's going to go down as a dude that's going to be in that conversation with some of the greatest athletes of all time that never delivered when it mattered the most. He'll be the Dan Marino of Major League Baseball. Hoss, listen, I think you're a great player. I think you deliver when it comes to the regular season. I think you put some of the greatest numbers up of all time. But dude, if you want to be a guy that's going to be remembered and put in Monument Park right next to Reggie Jackson and Derek Jeter or Thurman Munson, us, you got to deliver. You can't be taking the collar in a final against Venezuela and you go 0 for 4. Oh, and just a note on the World Baseball Classic. Hey, help me out here. You know, all the like Dominican teams, the Venezuela teams, all the Latin American nations, hey, they really wanted to be there. They really loved it. You know what I got from the American team? It was more this. Well, you know, we're here. Show me a little passion, guys. I'll tell you what, the Venezuela team, the Dominican team, the Mexican team, those guys showed truly great passion. Those guys were unbelievable with what they wanted to do by representing their country. Oh, another note, too. I love that Derek Jeter shut down Aaron Judge at the end of the day. Aaron Judge goes out and says that, hey, winning a World Baseball Classic is bigger than winning a World Series. You know what Jeter did? He shut that down. That sounds like a guy who hasn't either played in it or has won one. Shut that down. Bigger than the World Series. Hey, Aaron Judge, deliver. Do me a favor. You're in pinstripes. Act like it. We have to say this in one of the sad moments in all of martial arts, and that is the passing of Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, without a doubt, one of the great martial arts heroes of all time, one of the first action heroes of all time, 1972. He showed up with Bruce Lee, The Way of the Dragon. That was the beginning when you first saw Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, without a doubt, one of the great first action heroes. Then he would go on to do Walker, Texas Ranger from 1993 all the way until 2011. One of the great series of all time. Look, Jackie Chan, you see with all these great action heroes of today, this was the first guy. Arnold Schwarzenegger said it perfectly. Hey, you want to know action hero and you want to know who really paved the way to have action heroes? Here's your guy right here. And no doubt, man, rest in peace. There is no question about it. Chuck Norris is one of the absolutely great heroes of all time and one of the first action heroes. Man, I love that movie back in the day with Bruce Lee, The Way of the Dragon, 1972, one of the greatest fight scenes of all time. Hey, I fell in love with Bruce Lee because of Chuck Norris. And then Walker, Texas Ranger. I mean, look, Tom Cruise, one of the greatest actors of all time, one of the greatest action heroes of all time. Make no mistake about it. Man, this guy set the pave and he set the way. He paved the road for all the great action heroes of all time. Rest in peace. 86 years old. Chuck Norris, man. Walker, Texas Ranger. Does he get any better than that? And does he, what a life he lived too. All the great movies that he was in, all the great things that he set up for all the action heroes. No question about it. I saw his daughter, Bruce Lee's daughter, tweet out there, rest in peace, my friend. Now you're with Bruce Lee, the great martial arts expert. They're on the mat in the sky. Make no mistake about it. Chuck Norris, one of the greats of all time. Loved the guy, loved his movies, loved Walker, Texas Ranger, man. 86 years of age. He passes away. And I'll tell you what, man, I love that guy. No doubt about it. One of the great actors of all time. All right, my great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the #1 injury law firm in all of America for a reason. It's because they win. Family run, family owned. Ultima Morgan and John Morgan started this company over 25 years ago. John started this company 25 years ago because his brother was hurt on the job. So this has been a crusade. I tell you about the family in Florida that was initially offered $350K. They ended up getting nearly $12 million in settlement. Or the family in Pennsylvania, $650K. They got nearly $30 million in settlement. This is what Morgan & Morgan does. This will be the easiest decision you ever make. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sills sent you. Well, I'll tell you what, you know who's going to set us up for some college hoops? Our friend, Coach James Young. We're going to talk to him next right here. Does it get any better than March Madness? I mean, look, I know the Super Bowl is huge, but March Madness, coach, come on here now, man. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? I mean, look, the NCAA, I think it destroys the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals, man. I mean, this is just really one of the greatest events in all of American sports.
Big Sills, it really is, it's amazing because you basically just got to be the better team 6 times in a row. And I think that's the thing. Now, listen, with the NIL era, with the transfer portal, we're kind of losing a little bit of the Cinderella story, right? The Miami of Ohio's getting by, stuff like that. But it's still exciting, really good basketball. And you know it is, Big Sills. This is when, all the everybody's sick on Friday. No guy wants to go to work, but they don't want to use their vacation days because they got to get to the bar by noon.
Absolutely here. So wait, you say that 6 best games you have to play. Do you get the best team to win the national title, or do you get the hottest team to win the national title?
Yes, to both. if you're the best team and you play the best, you get a chance. But it takes one bad 40-minute performance to lose. Look at Georgetown in '85 with Pat Ewing when they lost to Villanova. Look at 1991 after UNLV beat Duke by 30. They weren't the better team in the Final Four. So you just have to play the right basketball. It's funny. I started the Coach's Edge with JY. And my first interview was with Mark Campbell, who's done a fantastic job for the women at TCU. And he says their phrase is they put a 40 on a practice jersey. Every player is 40. And I'm like, why? He goes, win the 40. Win the 40. Just win 40 minutes and just survive and move on to the next day. Just like that Jimmy Valvano piece, survive and advance, be 40 minutes better than the other better team, 40 minutes, and then just get to the next round.
Absolutely. All right, VCU over UNC. They can't be very happy right now in Chapel Hill right now. And I got to tell you too, Coach, boy, I saw that press conference with Hubert Davis. That didn't go very well, and that wasn't a good moment. What's going on there in Chapel Hill?
I wrote an article that says the Carolina way or the right way, why it's necessary to make a coaching change. Sills, they have to do it. I understand Dean Smith, Roy Williams, Phil Ford, Michael Jordan, Brad Daugherty, James Worthy, Jerry Stackhouse, Antoine Jameson, Vince Carter. We can go on and on and on. None of those guys are coming back through the doors for Hubert Davis. Roy Williams is not coming out of retirement. He got ran out by NIL anyway. He didn't want to deal with that in the transfer portal. He was smart, right? So now when you look at a Big Sills, where do you go from here? That was the last 10 minutes was arguably some of the most questionable coaching decisions. I want to be respectful because I love Hubert Davis as a player and as a person. They didn't sub. They didn't run offensive sets. They didn't execute defensively. And then you get into overtime. And I'm going to take people into what I call the coach's locker room, or into my brain here. There is a play that we call X, okay? And it's a foul shooting play. You're supposed to work on it. You put your 2 bigs in the foul line. You don't shoot it hard. You shoot it high. And then what you do is you have one big go across the lane and bang the other big, and then you loop the other one around. And if you miss it correctly, you get an easy putback. For that kid to just throw that ball out, don't blame the kid. That's coaching, and that's panicking. They have not been coached well enough, and it's not, ready folks, the Carolina way. Get out of the coaching tree. Go get yourself a big-name coach. The NCAA is better when Carolina is a national championship contender.
I'm going to take your article here, and I'm going to throw a name at you. Jay Wright? If it's the right way, how about Jay Wright? Do you try to push your chips in and do everything you can to get that guy out of retirement and put that guy down there in Chapel Hill?
I tell you what, man. Could you imagine GQJ with his gator shoes and looking good? And it's funny. I ran into Coach Wright a couple of months ago, because I know some of the Nova guys, and he looks happy retiring. He's sitting next to Father Peter at Villanova doing some stuff for the university. So if you want to get Jay Wright, you better give him that check. And when I'm talking about check, I'm not talking about $1 million. I'm talking about adding zero to that $1 million. I'm talking about giving the guy $10 million and give him full control. Could Jay Wright come out of retirement? I don't know, because he's very loyal to Nova Nation.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Jay Wright at Chapel Hill at the Dean Dome, I'd pay to see that. All right, Coach, best region in your opinion so far on what you're seeing in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament?
Well, it's competitively and just for coaching, it's the East. I mean, John Shire, Jamie Dixon. Look at these names I'm about to read off to you really quick, guys. Keep that up. John Shire, Jamie Dixon, Rick Pitino, Bill Self, Pat Kelsey, Tom Izzo, Mick Cronin, and Dan Hurley. Like, are you serious? Like, you put those 8 guys in there. That's like 8 of the top 12 coaches in the country, all in one region. That region's gonna be interesting. Duke struggled mightily. Shout out to Jerry McNamara. By the way, speaking of blue bloods, big time programs, Syracuse, just go give Jerry Mack and give him the damn job and get it over with so he can restore some tradition up there at Syracuse. But I'll tell you right now, folks, you think I'm crazy, TCU's going to be in this game. Jamie Dixon is one of the most underrated coaches of this generation. They play hard, they play together, and expect a low-scoring game today between those 2 teams.
Should I look at A&M in Houston and say that thing could be close? Do you think that game has a shot at being a last possession game?
I like Houston minus the points, but I will say this. They don't have depth. It is Uzan, Sharp, Flemings, Tugler, and Sinak. They bring Miller off the bench. They play 6 guys, maybe 7. If you get them into foul trouble, you could be there. I think it's very close early, and then I think you get a little bit of a pull away late for Houston. But that's a lot of points to be laying. I'm taking it, but I think they can pull it off.
Boy, you mentioned Syracuse right now. It's kind of wild not seeing Syracuse in the NCAA tournament. And Jim Boeheim's blaming the players. Somebody put those players on the court and gave them that nil money. We're going to talk more with Coach James Young. We're going to talk some NCAA basketball. Saturday and Sunday games have some blue bloods, and they're going to be some really great games in these next 2 rounds here as we're getting ready to try to find out who's going to be the Sweet 16. Is there anything better than March Madness? Take a look at the bars in your respected cities, too, right now. They are absolutely packed. More with Coach James Young next right here on SportsGrid. As I say, one of the greatest times on the planet right now is March Madness. Coach James Young joins us right now. And hey, I'm watching this Michigan and St. Louis. By the way, St. Louis, 29 victories. You think this game could be a tight game in the second half of this game, or do you think Michigan pulls away in this one?
Tight game, and obviously, to me, I like the under 161.5. Two teams, folks, each scored over 100 points their last game. So you're like, offense. No, I think the team that gets more stops is going to be really important here, and it'll be a really good contest. Listen, if you have not watched Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Robbie Avila, do me a favor. Keep my man Big Sills on with Coach, and then all his other great guests, but I still think I'm the greatest one he's got today. And then get your other TV and go watch this kid play. He is kind of like a joker in a way that he can kind of manipulate the offense, score inside, shoot the three, dime you up, set a great backdoor cut. They missed the layup. But if you have not watched Robbie Avila, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, go watch this kid now.
Absolutely here. Let's talk about a couple of the games today here. So Louisville ended up beating that USF team, and then now they got Michigan State. Michigan State, I heard you say last week to me that keep an eye on this team here. What do you see in this game? What do you like in this one?
I like Michigan State minus the points, Big Sales. It's a really even matchup with these teams, but the key is a couple of things. I look at intangible sales, right? The little things. Well, Michigan State really good at blocking shots. I think they're in the top 20. They don't get their shot blocked. That's always good to me. They rebound the ball. Number one in offensive rebounding rate percentage. They're ninth in defensive rebounding rate. So I like that as well. They get to the free throw line at a more of a better what we call free throw rate, meaning the percentage of times they get to the foul line versus their opponents. They do a good job of that. And then obviously the injury to Brown, the star point guard, Miguel Brown, star point guard from Louisville out. I know they're 4-1 straight up, but I like Sparty. And here's the other thing. We talked about this. Tom Izzo on short rest. That is a problem. He's going to have something up his sleeve, lay to 4.5. Also look out for the freshman Cam Ward. Really good in round one. They need that freshman to step up.
Duke, opening round game was not that impressive. They got TCU, I believe it's 12.5 right now. Duke, you think this game was close too against TCU?
Yeah, I think TCU is going to hang around. I like the game to go under the number of 139.5. Now, people think that's like wild, but if you think about it, two teams that are top 20 in defensive efficiency, Jamie Dixon's going to slow the game down. He can't run. But if Nagamba, the center for Duke, is still out, and you don't have Proctor, well, then John Shire can't go deep to his bench either. So that means it becomes a half-court game. 8 of the last 9 times, Duke has held their opponents under 80. Last 8 opponents for TCU held under 75, under 139.5.
You know, this VCU team we talked about, they ended up beating UNC. They got Illinois, who's been one of those teams that have kind of been like Iowa State a little bit. You know, you're looking at them, you're like, can they be a team that can get to an Elite Eight? What about this game here, VCU, Illinois?
Well, Illinois is one of the best offensive teams in the country, but you look at the job that Phil Martelli Jr., you know Phil Martelli Jr. because you know Phil Martelli Sr., who did a great job for a long time over there in Philadelphia at St. Joe's. To me, I think they hang around long enough. I think they cover the spread. They still win Illinois, and Illinois is a very good offensive team. It's weird because when you think of Brad Underwood, you think defense. It's actually the opposite with them. They're really good offensively.
High Point. I found out, Coach, it was in North Carolina. I had no idea who this basketball team was. They ended up upsetting Wisconsin. They did win 31 ball games this year, and they've got John Calipari's Arkansas team. What do you make of this game here? I think it's like an 11.5. I may be wrong on the number, but you tell me. High Point, Arkansas.
Yeah, with Arkansas, I went to this last game. I went to their team total over in the first half. They could score. Speaking of guys you got to watch, folks, go watch Darius Cuff play. That kid everybody talks about all these guys, Peterson, Boozer, DeBenza, Flemings. Go watch this kid. I think his points props at 25.5, and I think he's probably going to go over it. But look for Arkansas to get up and down. And here's the thing. that coach at High Point, after the game, kind of took people to task and kind of ripped some people. He woke up Calipari's crew. Watch Arkansas dust them. Team total over.
You know, tomorrow I'm going to have to get your thoughts a little bit on Canes and Purdue. I mean, my Canes, I don't know what they're going to do against Purdue. I think they're one of the best teams in the country, but can we shock the world?
There's always a chance. Be better for 40 minutes. Speaking of that, don't you have the former offensive coordinator for the Canes, Jedd Fisch? Hey, Jedd, can you come back to the U? We were one game close. I know you're a head coach, but can you come back? Can you consider it, please?
I love Coach Jedd Fisch. We do have him on next. He is the head football coach of the Washington Huskies. Coach, we'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you. Guys, keep it right here on SportsGrid. All right, so I love Mario Cristobal at the University of Miami, but prior to that, I could have been his agent because I kept trying to get him to become the next head football coach of the University of Miami. He went to Arizona. Now he is the head football coach of the Washington Huskies. Jedd Fisch joins us here. Coach, how are you enjoying yourself up there at Washington right now? You're turning that program around just like you did Arizona. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Dan. Great to talk to you as always. And yeah, it's been good. We're going into year 3. You know, went from 6 wins to 9 wins, and I like our team a lot coming back. And I think we're in a good spot here moving forward, trying to have a hell of a year here in 2026.
Coach, 15 practices. It's not like back in the day with me when, you know, Jimmy Johnson's got us going every day. You know, we're doing 3-hour practices. Is 15 practices enough for you and your coaching staff to figure out what 2026 is going to look like? Or is it become harder now to build these teams because practice time, transfer portal, all of that?
Yeah, I think the biggest, well, it's 2 things. You know, the first thing is, you know, back in your day and really up until 5-6 years ago, you knew your team. You practiced with these guys before. Most of the team you've had in training camp the year before. Most of the team, they were on the team the year before. Now when we're going through like 40 new players every year, like you need more time. Like 15 practices is not enough when you're trying to reconstruct the season before every year, or, you know, rebuild or redo, whatever you want to look at it as. They have changed the rules a little bit, allow you to do a little bit more with the team prior to spring ball, but I'm hopeful that they get to a spot where they give us about another 6 or 8 practices and let us figure out how we want to do it throughout the offseason to just get our guys together a little bit more on the field.
Coach, would you agree? It's not so much about the skilled players, it's more about the offensive line. That these limited practices, I mean, you got to get 5 dudes on the same page. And I would think that group alone, everybody looks at college football today and they see the skilled guys. But would you agree the toughest thing to get continuity with is the offensive line and to find the right 5 guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. We're fortunate. We have 4 of our 5 offensive linemen returning this year, which is just, I'd say it's the biggest advantage you could have in college ball if you can have that type of continuity up front. Now, if you have any eligibility left, we are looking for some new D line, and we did lose a pretty significant number of guys to graduation on our defensive line. So we've got some young guys, we've got a couple portal guys, we've got some guys that were developmental guys the year before. So the continuity there and the work together there. I mean, you want to be a good line game team. You want to be able to run stunts. You want to be able to understand different fronts. 15 practices, happens fast. And so we're lucky on the offensive line to have 4 returners. But on the defensive line, we'll have probably 3 new starters, and that'll be where we're going to have to put a lot of work in.
Coach, how's the depth on the team? I mean, obviously today with all the transfer guys, I mean, you got to re-recruit sometimes your own roster to make sure. Can you imagine this, Coach, back in the day when I had Russell Maryland and Cortez Kennedy behind me? I'm not thinking those guys are still behind me back in the day. So that's quite a test that you have to go through each and every single year, re-recruiting the guys that you recruit to come to your program.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think back to our Miami team when I was there, and in our running back room, we had Lamar Miller, Mike James, Duke Johnson, and are those guys really hanging out? Only one guy getting carries? Or, at wide receiver, we had Philip Dorsett backing up Travis Benjamin. Is that really going to happen in 2026? You try to make it happen. So the depth is always a concern. I think the biggest thing, and where I've kind of focused our time on when we look at spending money, is the programs that have these very large roster dollars are the ones that have the most depth, because they can actually pay guys to sit. Where programs, like right now, we've got some challenges financially to try to be able to. We could put together a really good, I think, first 22, 11 on each side, but I think the depth is the key where that's where some of the differences are.
Well, I'll tell you this, Coach, I would have a Big Sills Pizzeria in every corner in Hialeah if I played in today's college football. I can promise you that. Coach, who's going to start for you at quarterback this year for the Huskies?
So we got Damon Williams as our starting quarterback, and he's going into year 3 with us. I recruited him out of high school. He's an Arizona kid that committed to us at U of A, and then the day that we left, he went in the portal. I think he spent 1 day on campus. And so he's been with me now for going into 3 years. He started the last 3 games of his true freshman year. Then he started every game this past year, led the Big Ten in total yardage this past season at quarterback. And then we'll now go into, this will be his 17th start, I believe, or 16th start opening day this year. So excited about having that continuity for sure.
Coach, your skilled guys, wide receiver room, that's kind of your forte as well, finding these skilled guys. Do you have enough of them? How do you feel about that room there? Tight ends, wide receivers, your running back, outside of the quarterback. How do you feel about that room?
Yeah, the big thing, so we're losing 2 guys that were extremely productive. Denzel Boston, I think a lot of people have him, right now in the mock drafts going in the first round. Jonah Coleman, our running back, probably mock draft around the 3rd round. So I'm looking at those 2 losses, and we have to replace them. We've got a really good receiving core right now. We have a freshman All-American, Des Roebuck, who's coming back, going into his sophomore year. We've been able to surround it with some really good players. We brought 1 or 2 portal guys in, but most of them are guys that are either freshmen or guys that have been on kind of learning from the others. We had a guy that lost the whole season last year. Our starting outside receiver broke his collarbone week 1. He's back this year, obviously. So I think we'll be good at receiver. We like to throw the football, as you know. We like to be able to stretch the field. So he's going to be a big part of it for us. And then I would say the other part of it is at running back, we were able to bring a couple guys in the portal. We're really thinking that the younger guys that we had are going to be able to step up. We like to try to give them the opportunity to do that, step up and go.
Coach, what's tougher to recruit today? Is it the offensive lines or the skill set guys? What do you think is tougher to recruit right now?
Ooh, that's a great question, man, because, you think about it like you sometimes get into some big time bidding wars at the skill position, which you don't really need to get into because there's a lot of skill guys out there. When you get a big dude and you think he's good enough, man, they're not everywhere. So defensive line, I would say interior D line is probably the toughest. Then I would say tackles on the offensive line would be second. And then receivers, probably DBs would be third or fourth. But I would probably say if you can't get big guys inside or tackles, you're in trouble, man. You're in trouble.
Absolutely, Coach. I got to tell you here, too, if we're going to talk a little bit on the other side of this here about the landscape of college football as well. I want to get your takeaway on the college football playoff. I want to get your takeaway also on building that chemistry that we talked about. And guys, you know what nil means to me nowadays? Now it's legal, okay? And now these guys, you have an opportunity, and he's right, man. If you don't spend the right money and you're in the right places, you're not going anywhere when it comes to college football. So we're going to talk more with the head football coach of the Washington Huskies, Jedd Fisch, and get his take on the landscape of college football. We're in the area right now of the NCAA tournament. I'm looking for that 12-team tournament. When the college football teams do it, I want to see it just same way like we see it in the NCAA basketball. Does Coach Fisch like it? We'll do it next, right here on SportsGrid.
I know you didn't. Talk.
I'm innocent.
Got the wrong guy. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Okay, it was me. I did it.
Bringing an owl to an interrogation? That's a power move.
Every time. Yeah.
Hiring America's largest injury law firm for your injury? That's also a power move. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night, so you're watching the NFL games, and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, the dust is settled on the game. They just end. It's all until let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
This is why the regular season, Joe, does mean something, because Detroit is going to get a back-end team in the East to begin.
Yes, and it does. And it's just a very strange situation, unfortunate situation for Cade Cunningham in Detroit. But the good news is, if you keep playing teams like the Washington Wizards, well, you're not going to need Cade Cunningham to win those games like they did last night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. Obviously, you don't have as many states going online. Gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And I mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here if you can pick the perfect bracket. Sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
I got to tell you guys here, I'm going to give you a PSA here. There's very few programs in the country outside of the University of Miami down in Coral Gables that I would pimp a kid to go and play at. This is a dude right here, Coach Jedd Fisch of Washington Huskies, that I'd want to play for. Big dudes beat little dudes up. That is mantra there with the Washington Huskies there. And Coach, first let's get some thoughts here on the 12-team tournament. Do you like the landscape of college football, and do you like the process on picking these 12 teams?
I don't love it. I think that there's two things that we got to fix the calendar. When you talk about the landscape, I just don't like the how much the season runs into late January. But when you think about the playoff window, I'm being a fan of a bigger playoff. I think we should have more teams in it. And I think we have to really look very hard at how we're picking these teams. The difference between who you play and your record is significant. And if you're playing a certain competition level, you're going to win 10 or 11 games, maybe, or 9 or 10 games, but then you see what happens. And you watch the same conferences compete in the same championships. I mean, you look at Miami, you look at Notre Dame, you look at Michigan, you look at Ohio State, you look at Indiana. I mean, those are the teams, Oregon, those are the teams that are playing. Those are the teams that are competing in these championships and obviously the top SEC programs. But I don't think the other conferences are going to be able to hang on. And I think we have to I don't think we should continue to bring in programs that aren't playing in those top conferences.
Coach, I got to ask you then, I'm going to go there with this. Hey, just because you line up 12 tomato cans doesn't mean you have the right to play in that 12-team tournament. And I mean no disrespect to James Madison and Tulane. That's not a Big Ten schedule. That's not an SEC schedule. I mean, a 7-5 team in those conferences, they go 13-0 too. I mean, do you think programs like Tulane and James Madison should even be in the conversation? I mean, Coach, I don't want any shade on those guys, and I don't mean any disrespect to them, but I mean, I'm not going to line up 12 teams and go like this. Well, we're going to be 12 tomato cans, and they deserve to be in it just because of their record. I'm not there. Are you?
I'm not there either. No, I look at it as like, I really believe what we should do is we should take the Power Four or whatever we want to, and say you play 9 conference games. Your 10th game is against, if you're in the Big Ten, you play 9 in the Big Ten. You play 1 against the Big 12 team, 1 against an ACC team, 1 against an SEC team, and those are your 12 games. And you can play 1 preseason game if you want against anybody you want. But outside of that, I don't see it. I don't see it, and I think the playoffs should be a Power Four playoff structure, and then I think those are the teams that should play in the playoffs, and then I think there should be a Group of 5 playoff structure, and then I think there should be a the 1AA or FCS playoff structure, and I think it should just be 3 playoffs. I just don't see how we can say certain teams should be knocked out of the playoffs based on wins in a completely different type of schedule.
Coach, I want you to take me into the rooms of recruiting, because back in the day when I was getting recruited to Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, and all these other places, nobody ever brought money up. They may have brought something up where you might have an opportunity to get a job somewhere, do this and that, on the side. Nobody really needed to know. How far and how deep into the conversation do the parents go like this, or now you're sitting maybe with an agent and you got to talk to these guys? How far into that process the guy go, how much am I getting?
Yeah, I would say the early part of recruiting is the same as you know it. And then through this process of we're getting close to committing, we're getting close to wanting to be a part of your program, now becomes, what does the deal look like? And that's where I think, that's where it changes. It all changes at that point in time, because you've got them where you want them early, or at some point, even late. And you're making a decision based on opportunity, based on staffing, based on program. And then all of a sudden can you just call my agent to get this deal done? And when you think you have a deal done, you don't have the deal done anymore, because the agent sees it another way. And now you're in this, discussions with an agent kind of going against sometimes what the kid wants.
Coach, are we in danger right now of being in a process where the team that spends the most money will be the 12 teams that are going to be in the tournament? I mean, are we rolling towards that? And what we're seeing now with teams that spend the most money, Ohio State spends a boatload of money. You know, a lot of programs like Georgia and Alabama spend a lot of money. Are we starting to get into that dangerous area?
Yeah, we're absolutely baseball, not football. And anyone that says that it's, we're Major League Baseball, and we've got to find a way to compete at the highest level, but you got to find money to do it, because there's just no other way to get the best players to stay or compete or come if you can't be at least moderately comparable in your dollars. And you can't have a cap differential of $20 million between what one program is and another program is to be able to be in the top 12.
Coach, do you like where college football is right now, or do you think there needs to be a centerpiece like a commissioner? I know Nick Saban has made that comment before in the past, and I think the toothless NCAA is just that right now. Do we need to have somebody like a commissioner? Because now it's almost pro sports.
Yeah, I love college football. I love the energy, the enthusiasm, the passion. I just wish it was regulated by one person or a body. Like the NFL has a commissioner, we're going to need a commissioner. And that commissioner, we're going to have to figure out how we could decide what X amount of teams are going to be in the Super League. And that Super League is going to have its own playoffs. And that there should be a cap comparable. But we're close. We're close. I think we're getting closer and closer to coming up with a way to get this thing regulated and right. And I'm excited where it's going.
Absolutely. Me too. Coach, the transfer portal, in your opinion, are you a fan of it? Does it need to be restructured? Do you need to have a different schedule, different calendar? 30 seconds, Coach. Are you a fan of the transfer portal?
I'm not a fan of unlimited transfer portal. I'm a fan of an opportunity to move with some regulation. Maybe one transfer, and then also if there's a coaching change, a second one. But I don't think it should just be every year, because I just don't think it's good for the kid. I don't think it's good for education. It's hard to get a degree at 4 different colleges. You lose credits every time you move on, and I don't think we're thinking about the big picture.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Jedd Fisch will be the head football coach, I would say, of the New York Jets. In about 4 years, he'll be the head coach of the Jets. Coach, I love you, man. Great luck and great success. We'll talk soon. Thank you, Coach. Sileo says here on SportsGrid. Truly one of the greatest times of the year is the NCAA Tournament and March Madness, as we've been saying in this hour here. But I will say this to you about network television. Network television is dying on the vine right now. If it's not for live sports programming, ABC, NBC, CBS, what shows are Americans watching now? You're not watching network television. 96 of the top 100 shows in 2025 were sports, were the NFL. Look, as you see, Prime Video, all these great places that you go, the Fight Pass, Peacock, the NBA League Pass, Outspoken here with us. And I got to tell you, network television right now is dying. If you don't have live sports on your network, your networks are dying. Think about what I just said to you, that 96 out of the top 100 television shows in 2025 were National Football League shows. The others were filled in by college football and World Series and Major League Baseball and NBA. Nobody's watching network television. Live network TV right now is run by sports. Late night television. Look at all what's happening on late night. They're canceling shows at night because nobody is watching those shows. Hell, you don't laugh anymore anyway when you tune on late night. They're going to be filled, in my opinion, with sports shows. CBS, NBC, ABC. Ask yourself about ESPN, and ask yourself this about ESPN alone. If you didn't have college football or the NFL or the NBA or all of their live sports programming, they'd shut that thing down. Bob Iger would have shut that down. Nobody tunes in ESPN for those stupid shows that they have. They tune in for live broadcasting, live sports broadcasting. Same with network television. Network televisions have so much influence, they influence who gets picked when it comes to the college football 12-team tournament. This is what and where sports is today. Look, as we mentioned with all of the streaming services, hey, you think there's any coincidence that the National Football League is now getting knee-deep into places like Netflix, Apple, Amazon, and they're selling separate TV packages? By the way, there's even a conversation at this week's coming up NFL owners meetings that they're going to bail on the current television contract because the current television contract is outdated. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked at the end of the day if you hear after this week that the National Football League has ripped up their current television deals with these networks, and there's a loophole in it where they can restructure those contracts with these TV networks. Look, the NBA just signed a massive deal with Peacock and NBC. Wait till you see the number that the NFL is going to come through when these networks are going to have shell shock when they get that number from the league. The league is right now a monster. 96 of the top 100 television shows. You're not watching network television. Just like the newspaper industry, the internet destroyed the newspaper industry, and the internet and streaming is now destroying network television and live sports broadcasting. What you're watching today and what you'll see during the football season, it saves CBS. Look at what the two biggest events are coming up for CBS. You've got the Masters and you've got the National Championship game all in 1 week. Folks, I'll tell you again, right now where we are in sports broadcasting, this is the golden age of sports broadcasting. I saw that CBS News Radio is now shutting their doors. Sports is not shutting their doors. Sports is elevating. You are putting places like CBS News Radio out of business. This is what streaming and sports live broadcasting is doing. They own it, and they will continue to own it, and this is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Hell, it used to be a time when newspapers were the place where we got all our sources from when it came to getting all of our news, or the 6 o'clock news. We got those from network television. Nowadays, that is not the case. Network television is dying, as I said, on the vine And make no mistake about it, Prime Video, you get UFC, Peacock. Hey, when I watched the National Football League during the holidays this past year, it cost me $118 just to subscribe to the other apps and the other platforms just so I could watch NFL football. I had to get Netflix. I had to get Prime Video. I had to get all these other platforms for me to watch football, all on top of what my cable bill is. This is where we're going. Network television is dying, folks. And if it wasn't for live sports broadcasting, they'd be out of business already. More on the NCAA tournament with Rowan Panaya. We'll do that next right here on SportsGrid.